forth. It's living. It's active, sharper than any two-edged sword. The word has always been. And today, the word goes forth.
How many years ago? 6 years ago, we had an election, the November 2020 election, very secure, very safe. However, whistleblowers recently came out and said that China was trying to interfere and not make it secure and safe. What's that about?
Yes, so basically this week, investigative reporter Catherine Herridge put out a piece saying whistleblowers allege, as you were saying, right, that the 2020 CCP election influence operations were targeting Trump, but the main point is that they were suppressed. So the intelligence community knew about this, but suppressed it. So basically, her report was saying her sources are saying a whistleblower from around that time, his claims were correct. So basically, her takeaway was China's goal was to impede President Trump's reelection and denigrate him, I should say, as a candidate. So this is the latest in a bunch of reporting that's been coming out about it. So Just the News has been doing a lot about this. There's been different reports from different agencies coming out. But basically what happened is back in 2021, there was an analytic ombudsman, however say that word, Barry Zuloff, who conducted a review of the intel community, specifically how they handled China versus Russia when it comes to election interference or operations and so forth. And so what he found was that intelligence analysts downplayed purposefully China's actions because they had disdain for the, quote, vulgarian, who's Trump, in the office, and they did not want to support the policies and priorities of the Trump administration toward China because they saw that that would help the Trump administration or, his policies, and they didn't agree with him, as in Trump. So they downplayed it. So he writes, given analytic differences in the way Russia and China analysts examine their targets, China analysts appeared hesitant to assess Chinese actions as undue influence or interference. So following that, Just the News did their own deep dive on a bunch of publicly available information, whether that's from intelligence assessments, federal indictments, or foreign government warnings. And they did find credible evidence of Chinese interference and influence operations. And people might recall that in 2024, so this was before Trump re-entered office, right? The U.S. government, so then under President Biden, was expressing a lot of outrage after Great Britain said that Great Britain's election databases were hacked by China, like basically the voter registration databases. So now it's turning out that that was mock outrage because the entire time the U.S. intelligence community knew that China was doing the exact same thing to our voter registration databases. So there was actually a April 2020 National Intelligence Council memo that was once highly classified, but part of it has been declassified. A lot of it is still redacted, though. It's a memo entitled Cyber Operations Enabling Expansive Authoritarianism, and part of it says, there's a lot redacted, but Chinese intelligence officials analyzed multiple U.S. states' election voter registration data to conduct public opinion analysis on the 2020 U.S. general election. So the whole main point is that the U.S. intelligence community knew about these efforts by China meddling in the 2020 election, but suppressed it because they didn't like the candidate, Trump. So a lot of this, why it matters now, of course, President Trump has been pushing very hard for the Save America Act to pass. Basically, that would tighten and strengthen voter integrity by requiring documentary proof of United States citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. Just like prove you're a citizen and you can vote. It's getting a lot of pushback and is not passing. And of course, right now with the midterms coming up, there's a lot of focus on different ways of potentially, influencing elections. Right now in the states, the main focus is gerrymandering or redrawing of district maps. But there's always been that concern of foreign interference. Of course, with the previous elections, the Russia collusion hoax was the one dominating headlines. But now they're realizing that China has been doing a lot.
So I know with the Russia stuff, one of the central claims was like they were setting up these bots online, the social media bots. Do you know, or did any of this reporting by either Catherine Hedridge or John Solomon, did they specifically lay out like what was China doing, like in 2020 specifically, or did they just know generally that they were?
So this one from the memo from 2020, that's still quite redacted. It was very highly classified at the time, but parts of it have come out. It was just saying that the Chinese intelligence officials had access to our voter registration rolls and were analyzing that to get a sense of public opinion. And then separately, not from this, but there have been multiple separate accounts about how China has been doing that, especially like state
IDs that were smuggled into the United States.
But also influence operations. Troll bot farms are a big one, where you do see a huge rise in a lot of activity online on divisive topics. So ahead of whatever elections, maybe abortion's a big topic. You're going to see a lot of accounts that look like Americans, like the picture, the name, everything. But there's like no followers, no whatever. And if you actually dig into it, most of them trace back to places like China or sometimes Russia or sometimes Iran or North Korea. But it's part of the orchestrated campaign to sow division so that people get really riled up and they're like, I have to vote because this issue impacts me.
Okay, thank you very much for that. One issue impacting young people in the UK is smoking, right? In what way? That's a good transition, but now that I think about it, in what way? Like they want to smoke and they can't, or they don't want to smoke and now they also can?
Well, if you're 17 or under, so if you're born after July 1st, 2009 in the UK, you will now never, ever, ever in your life be able to legally buy cigarettes. So it's a lifetime ban, essentially, on buying cigarettes.
But not smoking.
Well, the smoking part isn't part of it. If you can smoke at home or in a public place that's allowed, and there was no mention that if somebody gives you cigarettes, if there's any issue there, but you're not allowed to sell the cigarettes.
Can you buy tobacco?
No tobacco. It's tobacco, not just cigarettes. But vaping is allowed. They did add some restrictions on vaping, like you can't do it in a car with kids, you can't do it near a school or outside a hospital, but other than that,
smoking is for
still
boomers
vaping.
anyways. Like, vaping it is what it is. No, I mean, I just get it. You know, okay. It's not going to be a big thing anyways. I feel like vaping and Zyn
You mean
and everything
the kids
else.
are all vaping
Yeah, they're going to,
already
that's
now?
taken over. I just wonder what Winston Churchill would have to
Well,
say.
so,
He's
okay.
rolling in his
I know,
grave right now.
Cigar, tobacco.
How do they plan to enforce this? Like, I can see, okay,
They're going to have the
if
smoking
you catch
police.
someone outside, you know, on the sidewalk
it's
next to a
selling,
school,
selling.
okay.
It's selling, not the smoking.
All right, fair enough.
It's the selling part. But here is the big criticism. Okay, the obvious criticism is the nanny state and, civil liberties and that kind of thing. That's the obvious one. But the other one is that already there's a huge problem in the UK of black market cigarettes and tobacco products. There was just a recent study, and 46%, I think it is, 46% of cigarettes already sold are sold through the black market. And apparently it's a lot of illegal immigrant, Kurdish, apparently especially, illegal smoke shops.
Shish bars? by
And
any
it's
chance?
already costing the UK government about $9.4 billion.
So I repeat, how do you enforce it?
Yeah, so what's going to happen is anyone who's 17 or under who wants to smoke and wants to buy cigarettes are just going to buy illegally and probably pay a lot more than 5 times the price of a normal pack of cigarettes or whatever. That's effectively what's going to happen.
Okay,
You
so
can imagine.
they're going to have an election. What, in May?
Is it in May? So Neil Farage, who's
Not-
been reformed.
Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage,
And
thank you.
he's a big smoker. You know
He
that,
is.
right?
He is.
Reform is going to come in there
And
and
there's
just...
a picture of him smoking saying, I will repeal it
Yes.
if elected.
I figured as much.
But it is on the books now.
Can you imagine having your birthday be May 31st, 2008?
No, it's January 1st, December 29th.
Okay, yeah.
December 31st.
Oh, you're going to be ripping those
2008.
cigs.